Alright, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power, and in this video I wanted to talk about bodybuilders that made Ronnie Coleman look small. Now, I thought this would be an interesting topic for a video because it was very rare that anybody could ever possibly make Ronnie Coleman look small. Ronnie Coleman, 8-time Mr. Olympia, widely regarded as the best bodybuilder of all time. Or some might call him the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Ronnie Coleman, standing about 5'11" tall, maxed out his stage weight near 300 pounds on stage. Now for me, if I wanted to give some perspective as to who is one of the freakiest bodybuilders to ever exist, I would point to 2003 Ronnie Coleman. At the 2003 Mr. Olympia, that's the Ronnie Coleman where you see these crazy back shots. He's in the red posing trunks, and his back just looks like an insane mountain of muscle. And it's just like nothing you've ever seen before in these crazy back shots from the 2003 Mr. Olympia. If someone were to ask me, who is Ronnie Coleman, what did he look like, I would probably pull up a picture from the 2003 Mr. Olympia where he was like 300 plus pounds on stage and looked absolutely freaking insane. So by this point in the video, you're probably thinking, who could possibly make this guy look small? And admittedly, yes, it's a list that's a little bit small, but it's a list that exists nonetheless. Now, the first bodybuilder that comes to mind when we're discussing this topic, to me, is GUNTHER Schlierkamp. So GUNTHER, if we go back to 2002, that's where the rivalry between Ronnie and GUNTHER really reached its fever pitch, and that's when things got pretty intense. So it started out with the 2002 competition called the GNC Show of Strength, where there was a pretty big upset at that show, and GUNTHER actually defeated Ronnie at this show while Ronnie was at the time the reigning 5-time Mr. Olympia. So just about a month prior to the 2002 GNC Show of Strength, which was in November, was the 2002 Mr. Olympia. Now, Ronnie did win the 2002 Mr. Olympia. It was his 5th Olympia title at the time. Now, much to the dismay of bodybuilding fans, GUNTHER Schlierkamp wound up in 5th.
And they will take the 5th place awards and present them to GUNTHER Schlierkamp.
Oh no. Here we go.
Now, a lot of bodybuilding fans booed that decision, and many people felt that he should have been much higher. Specifically, a lot of people felt he should have won the show. GUNTHER Schlierkamp was definitely somebody that was a fan favorite at that time. He was larger than life. He really stood out on stage. He really caught attention of the audience because he was a taller bodybuilder. Ronnie being 5'11", GUNTHER was 6'1", and he's a pretty big guy. In contest condition, he was in the 290s to 300, but he was taller, so that weight was distributed a little bit differently than it would be for Ronnie. But he was a tall guy, and he had his frame filled out as well, so he drew a lot of attention on stage, and he came in pretty good shape, specifically in 2002, and a lot of people wanted to see him place a lot higher at that Olympia. So following the 2002 Olympia, GUNTHER had built up a lot of steam, specifically with the fans. He had a lot of momentum, and his popularity was really reaching an all-time high. So then fast forward a month later, you have this 2002 GNC Show of Strength. You finally get this rematch between GUNTHER and Ronnie. GUNTHER at the time was the fan favorite. People wanted to see him pull off this upset. So in 2002, 5-time Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman goes up against the German giant, GUNTHER Schlierkamp. So he competed at 300 pounds that year, or for that particular competition, he weighed 300 on stage. And he had these movie star good looks, and he had this super bright smile, and he had confidence on stage. And after that standing ovation that he received at the Olympia just a month prior for his 5th place placing, going into this contest, he was the fan favorite. Everybody wanted to see him win. So Saturday, November 9th, 2002, Ronnie Coleman would go head-to-head with the German giant GUNTHER Schlierkamp, and Ronnie Coleman, he was off. And GUNTHER, arguably, by a lot of accounts, was at his all-time best. Most bodybuilding fans and historians agree that GUNTHER looked his best ever at this 2002 GNC Show of Strength, while Ronnie looking off was one of the first. This was one of the first times that a Mr. Olympia lost his title before the next year's Olympia in a competition outside of the Olympia. It's not something that happens very often. So this upset was certainly something that was newsworthy at the time, and it was something that the fans were really excited to see. And Gunther looked phenomenal. And you could argue he made Ronnie look small. He was taller than Ronnie. At this show, he was heavier than Ronnie. He was technically bigger than Ronnie. He looked better than Ronnie, and then he beat Ronnie, the 5-time reigning Olympia champ at the time. Something you rarely ever see. Unfortunately for Gunther, not a lot of people know this story, because after this 2002 show of strength, he would never look the same again, and his placings would gradually get worse, and his bodybuilding career would kind of fade away. But in his prime, he was one of the very few bodybuilders to be able to say they beat Ronnie and they made him look small. Now, let's get to the next bodybuilder on this list. And we got to look at another German giant. Germany is having some success so far against the 8-time Olympia champ, Markus Rühl. Let's fast forward 4 years to 2006. This is the tail end of Ronnie Coleman's competitive career. Ronnie Coleman would take second at the 2006 Mr. Olympia. He would place fourth at the 2007 Mr. Olympia, and then he would retire. So 2006, the Grand Prix in Graz. Now, to me, the story here is how big Markus Rühl is and how big he looks even next to someone like Ronnie Coleman. Now, a lot of people made this out to be the Ronnie versus Jay competition because Jay ended up winning this show. Ronnie took second, and Markus wound up in third. Now, to me, it's noteworthy here when you compare Markus and Ronnie. Markus, to me, looks significantly bigger than Ronnie Coleman, particularly in the front shots, let alone next to Jay Cutler. And this wasn't always the case when you had Ronnie and Markus next to each other. There were times when Ronnie was in the 290s and Markus was in the 270s, 280s. Markus wasn't always someone that could make Ronnie Coleman look small, and Ronnie wasn't always someone that you could make look small. So this is a rare thing that we're seeing happening so far. Now, there's one other occasion that sticks out in my mind, and it was earlier on in Coleman's career, 1997, the 1997 Grand Prix Finland. You have a call-out with Ronnie Coleman on the side there, Marko Savolainen in the center. Marko Savolainen, widely regarded as being one of the bodybuilders that had some of the best biceps of all time. And you can see in the front double bicep pose there, Marko is no slouch. Standing next to Ronnie Coleman, he makes Ronnie's arms almost look small. But the arms are really the only area that Marko could possibly make Ronnie look small. But look who's next to Marko Savolainen. The monster Jurassic Paul Dillette, another 90s monster. Paul Dillette was 6'2", compared to 5'11" Ronnie Coleman, and Paul Dillette, another guy that competed close to 290 pounds, practically dwarfing Ronnie in this video. Now, despite the fact that they did technically make Ronnie look small in a couple of different ways, Ronnie beat both these guys at the Finland Grand Prix. They both placed behind him. But this particular call-out, it was still a rare call-out where you have the opportunity to see someone looking bigger than Ronnie in one way or another. So that is going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Please make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this style of video. And if you do like it, I'm going to make more videos just like this one. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed already for more videos just like this one. And let me know in the comment section below if I missed anybody. Are there any other bodybuilders that you feel made Ronnie Coleman look small during the peak of his career? Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. And as always, Nick Strength and Power, signing out.